What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Mist Podcast. I am your host, Arrow Mist. Today, I'm actually just going to talk about some personal experience, and this is going to be my personal experience in NFTs and Web3. I've been here for, I think, close to 2 years now. So, I came in not last year, it was 2021. Was it 2021? I think it was like late 2021 that I was coming in mid 2021. Yeah, so we're getting close to about 2 years. It's about mid 2021. And when I came into the space, it was so hard for me to figure out what the hell's going on. Like, I had no clue. And by a form of no clue, I did my research, but I didn't understand community and I didn't understand how to be involved. You know, everyone's just talking about that there's a lot of money going around in this place. And so I just kind of pop in and I'm looking around like, what the hell's going on? Hello. So the one thing that I understood of where the NFT space lives was on Twitter. So I'm like, just trying to interact with people on Twitter, trying to get in anybody's DMs to ask any amount of questions. Like, where are people at? How do I find people to talk to? You know, I've heard it's a social place, so I'm trying to find where the social people are. And I'm more looking for places to like verbally talk to people. And the only other lead that I really had was Discord. Now, I probably was in the space just like observing and trying to figure things out for 3 or 4 or 5 months. And that was just to try to figure out even alone how to be in the place to start talking to people, to see what the fuck's going on and like how I can even be involved. And obviously I was coming here to fix my finances and get myself financially stable and all those kinds of things, because I didn't really have any other options. But not like necessarily even making money off of like flipping JPEGs, but more like me as an artist. I do not thrive very well in Web 2 because I'm not doing a mass appeal, and I never will. That's just not going to be my brand. That's not going to be who I exert myself as. Because I care about people and I want to make connections and I want to talk to people and I want to know what's going on and be able to establish providing value and all those other kinds of things. So for me, it was very imperative to come in and see if I could figure out a way to take up this, what everybody was calling the sovereignty, and finding your own way of making a living with what you love creatively without having to have any other problems. And so I'm walking through the valley of this space, kind of like trying to ask other people about music NFTs even, and like trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing and what's going on. And I'm not really getting anywhere because music NFTs were hardly going around. There was a couple people that have done them, but there wasn't really enough information on like what you can do with them, how to set up putting it on the blockchain, and there was just no formula for it yet. Let alone having a formula for how you're going to provide value back to people and how you're going to do anything with them to incentivize people that are going to invest in you and collect from you. And like, just there was not enough information at all about what to do. So whenever I'm sitting here like looking at other people, the small few people that I was able to see that did things, and like then trying to topple over and put together how I'm going to do something myself, not happening. It didn't make any sense. And then every time, like, so eventually at the end of 2021 is whenever I started finally finding my footing in Discord and finding people in Discord and Discords that have active VCs, because I was very avidly and still am much more for connecting with people on Discord in every single way than I ever will be how Twitter works. And it's just because Twitter itself really does not work well for fully making connections with people and having a community, building your community. You're limited on how you can do it, what you can do, how do you get people involved. And the experience that I had on Discord is still probably the best time I had in the NFT space to this day. When, you know, I'm recording this April 25th, 2023. Don't know when this is probably going to come out, but from the time of this recording, that is still the best time this space has ever had. Not just from a financial point, because obviously financially, that's whenever, you know, we're talking like the time where you're getting into where you could have, you know, flipped a JPEG for $25,000, $30,000. Like, So it definitely was a great time for a lot of people in general because everyone's making money. But the real kicker of why it was such a great time on top of that was like how seamless it was to make connections and make a name for yourself and, you know, get other people to support you or follow you on like Twitter. Some people use that time to like completely establish their own personal brand and, you know, their own Twitch streams and podcasts and all these other things. And so it was an immaculate time. And this started around like the first Discord I actually popped into was Divine Anarchy. And that was in October, like a month before their mint. Or I think it was 2 weeks to a month before their mint, something like that. And when I found that place and these people are sitting in Discord, I'm like trying to like ask questions about music NFTs, ask questions about NFTs in general, and the music part nobody knows anything about. And so when I'm even trying to like get feedback and, you know, build up what I'm doing with music and all that other stuff, no one's able to give me literally any information, no feedback, because none of these people know. And it seemed like some of these people are actually just as new as I am. There were some people that have been here for a year or a little bit like, you know, for a while longer than I was, but they still had no idea that music NFTs even existed, for one, but for two, what the hell they do, how to prose ideas to like get people to feel interested to invest in them if that's the case. Like none of that shit was there. Not a single ounce or form of it. So I'm over here trying to put it together and get blueprints. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to make just like an outline. I'll get some people's, you know, feedback on it and I'll just kind of chill out and I'll wait. So the mint for Divine Anarchy comes around, groundbreaking. Absolutely groundbreaking. And by groundbreaking, I mean people are making money. And like, so from that, I was able to find a segue getting into other Discords. And that's when I got my ball rolling, essentially, of at least finding people to hang around that are in the space and finding a community and going through the motions of all of those things, because I was extremely lost on at least finding a footing on having people help you. And that's a very big part of this space. And I think the space teaches that overall in general, that, you know, we all have to win together. No one can do anything alone in your existence, no matter what it is. And even in the regular world, like, if you want to understand more about something that does not have a lot of vast information on it, you're going to have to find people that understand it and hang around them or ask them questions or whatever it is and be a part of their community and provide value if you can, you know, take whatever information you can and, you know, be a part of it one way or another. And so the biggest kicker around for all of this was when HAPE was a thing. And that's when the game was like really shifting from flipping something from 0.06 to 0.2 to flipping something from 0.06 to 10 ETH. And there might have been some other projects, actually. There was like Mechaverse. I wasn't really cognitively aware of Mechaverse until it already had became a rug, pretty much. But by the time all of that caught up for me on like, you know, December 2021, January 2022, I'm literally living in Discord because I didn't even realize how big the opportunity was. But like, that's whenever this whole new era was put into play. And this era did not last long. This is the most prominent era that I was a part of, was like the prime of the bull run. The last one that we had anyway. And that bull run was phenomenal. But its downfall was atrocious. And like the rise and fall of Discord was like a whole 6-month time span. Discord rose up, and all these other problems even came from Discord that people were still rummaging through. Hacks, rugs, you know, people's getting their wallet drained from connecting to different Discords, like all kinds of shit. Discord had an immaculate amount of problems, and that's why people stopped doing it now. A lot of people would say the reason that they don't do Discord and NFTs is because of flooding and things that like ruin a project. But the way I always look at it is that there's no group of people like shitting on a project anywhere that's going to make the project go down and deteriorate. I feel like that was just an excuse for a lot of people to gravitate towards one place personally. Because Twitter still just does not efficiently work as well as Discord does for the whole money part of it. But or for the community and the connection part of it. but it works for the money part of it because you could still, be all in without having to like really do the most. And Discord really showed the opportunity of being able to do the most if you wanted. I did an immaculate amount of live performances in Discord, being able to connect with people like one-on-one, Discord calls, DMs, group adventures with people where we could like do way more integrative stuff than a Twitter space can even remotely do for people right now, which is actually very sad, and it upsets me because it makes me feel like Twitter actually made us take a step back rather than a step forward, and like community integration and like the future of what NFTs actually can be, at least from a like person to person and a whole community basis. But to the trail along still, November, December were an immaculate time, and the rewards for being involved came in January and February. And after HAPE ended, the mint ended, and things started transitioning and people were going to other projects, and that's whenever this flow of downfall of the space began, which also led into the bear market, which was HAPE minted, and then people moved on to some projects I can't even remember because they really were not that monumental, and like I didn't spend as much time in them. They're probably either rugged or they're not shit now anyway either, and that's why like HAPE, as one of those only few mints around that time, is one of the only ones that still has an ETH floor to it and still has some remote value. All these other ones are probably less than 0.1 if they're even having any trading volume at all at this point. But the real downfall came from like Mutant Shiba Club, and that was in March. Now, the big problem also with Discord was that there was this psychological use that every single project was using on the FOMO of people, which was getting them to feel more inclined to overexert their time and effort of saying, you being here all this time and you do all these things for us and we might reward you. And the project was never obligated to reward anybody. And so it just became this thing like, no one's obligated anything, but these projects are basically setting it up purposefully for people to expend their time because most of them are hoping that they get a financial return, to be honest. And there are some people that are like legitimately trying to be involved because they see the potential of the project, they care about the community, all those other things, but it became this very diluted, watered down thing of spending time in VCs to hopefully get you a mint that's going to be able to make some type of money or be a part of a community in itself. And as if you basically had to be a part of the community before you could ever invest in the community. And it just became this really redundant rollover, and it died off so quickly. And I knew it was going to because of how unsustainable it was, but I was really hoping that it was going to stay in Discord and not completely shatter the frame of Discord in itself. And it's like, I can go look at someone's Discord right now, like somebody sent me another project because I just was talking around to a few people I haven't talked to in a while, and I'm like, is there anything going on right now? Is there, any progress made in the Discord side of it? Like people still hanging out? Is there still, things moving there? And they sent me this Discord that has full of VCs, but on all these people have their mic muted. I'm literally looking at it right now. Every single person has their mic muted except for in one VC, and I think I joined it once and like nobody was talking. And I'm just kind of like, if everyone's here just to fucking farm, then why are you even incentivizing having Discord VCs to begin with? Because none of these people will give a shit then. It's so redundant. But after Mutant Shiba Club in March of last year, everything took a sloped decline down. And by sloped decline, like the bear market also happened at the same time. So not only did the community aspect of things move right back into Twitter and everything just go right into Twitter because everyone was saying that the FUD that Discord was like, I feel like Discord just had this excuse in the middle of why people were not involved. And it still doesn't make any sense to me because like if you were having a problem clicking a link in a Discord, what still makes that problem a problem on Twitter? Like, what doesn't make that a problem on Twitter for you to click a link when that same link can be a link in Discord, and at least Discord can now pop up a warning for you where Twitter is just going to take you straight there? And I mean, I don't know, maybe that's under the premonition of people thinking that mobile is more secure, but I think that that whole move was more of a psychology thing than it actually was like a real practical, like, we're using Twitter now because Twitter is safer for all of us. And that just, I still to this day and will never believe that that's actually true. Regardless of the safety issues of Discord, Twitter has all the same safety issues. And there's just literally no way around that. Because someone can fabricate links and all that other kind of stuff the same way. And if you really wanted to make sure Discord was surefire, then you could have developers behind the Discord. And maybe that's the difference, is that you don't have to have an experienced developer. I mean, you technically don't have to have an experienced developer behind a Discord either, because the person that sets it up can still go use templates. You can use templates to make a fucking Discord. Like, there's just really no excuses. And so I think the real thing was that it was an excuse as to why things changed around on top of the bear market. And it just became a point where most people were like, no. So now, after that, around that point of like April, May, I kind of started leaving the space, and I think a lot of people did in general. And it wasn't just because the profits weren't there, but it was because people were not valuing musicians enough. And to be involved was not easy as a musician. Like, you really had to do the most entirely, and I was not going to sit here and do the most. Like, I wasn't. And so I thought, more than anything, maybe Web 2 is what would be for me. And so I stepped away, and I still was, checking back on everything, but I was not like avidly involved. And I learned all the ropes of Discord, and that's where all of my connections were. And not all of those people transferred into Twitter. A lot of them left the space because they were only here during the Discord era, and for probably the same reason it was for me, a lot of them too outside, if the money was the thing for them, which was like, you basically had to relearn how to be involved in the space. You had to relearn how to make your connections. You had to relearn how to be involved. You had to relearn how you're even going to get the alpha, if there's alpha to be had, because all of that had moved to Twitter DM group chats and people talking about it in spaces. And so there was just a very large fall off. And I think that a lot of people forget that the fall off was not just because of financial repercussions, but it was because of all these other factors. And over time, in the end and in the long run, what has transpired in the space will be what's best for the space, where we stop throwing money at people that, it used to be a fucking thing where having yourself doxed or not doxed and having the founders be anonymous was something people were buying into. And like, the anonymity in itself, even in the project, was something that people were FOMOing into, and it was fucking insane to me. But now, and it also has been difficult for me to like retrain my brain on like, just let people know what you're doing. You don't have to sit here and hide it all, unless you're like, building in the open anyway is probably the best way to do it, no matter who you are. Because and the space began to move to that point of like, you being doxxed became a very important part. You having practical utility, if utility was something that could actually matter, all those lines of things became what we started to live by in the space. And then that's how the culture has moved. And it's because there's so few people in it, and it attracts a specific group type of people, a type of thinkers, a type of people in general. There's going to be, no matter what, a specific way the space will work culturally, because there's still, and it's only always going to be a specific type of people also that see the value in things that other people have yet to see the value in. And the regular world will see the value in blockchain technology and everything that's coming from blockchain technology, but they will not see it and experience it when it is still blockchain technology. It will just be seamless integrational things into what they already have now. And the reason I know that that's a big thing is that if you want to go do something on Solidity, if you want to go put out a contract, a smart contract to put your own stuff on the blockchain, then it is going to not only cost you some money, but it is also going to cost you your time and effort of either paying a dev to do it or learning to do it in code yourself. I can go make a regular website right now with no code. I don't need to know shit. I can pretty much do it off of Elementor and WordPress. But even on top of that, there's a different layer for doing every single little thing in making that website, from your host provider to WordPress to using Elementor to using other plugins to like whatever. And there's, even that feels like it's its own type of headache, but it's not that difficult. And anybody can do it. Anybody can learn it. I did that in my own online store with Shopify in 2 days. So, but if I want to go sit here and do a Solidity contract, and I'm going to go do that very soon because I'm putting up another collection and I need to reattach my old collection to a new mint site, it's going to come with this really big repercussive thing of, because I didn't take it into my hands initially, then now it's biting me in the ass from not doing that, and I'm going to have to, and I'm going to have to spend the time to learn it, figure it out, and all these other things. And that is something, that's the reason why most people don't come to this space, is because there's still this big block. There's this big like hump people have to go over, not just educationally, but or financially even, right? But also just from a standpoint of knowing what the hell to do, how to do it, and being able to do it. Because if you go through any of these other places like Manifold or Nifty Kit, like, you don't own your contract. And some people don't even understand the importance of that. But if you don't own your contract, then in the end and in the long run, when this tech is really evolved and developed, you could get fucked. Absolutely fucked. So it's really taking into consideration all these different layers. And if you are not educated, then you won't even know these layers. But the whole point of me telling this story is that this is definitely a space that evolves and shifts off culture and on culture, no matter what. And it always will. And because of how small the space is and the amount of people that are in it, and the small amount of people that always will be in it, regardless of what anyone wants to say, this will not be something that hits the masses, while it is still NFTs and blockchain technology and the way that everything is marketed right now. Like, NFTs won't be NFTs whenever regular people are doing NFTs, and smart contracts won't be how smart contracts are used and affiliated now by the time everybody uses smart contracts. So, and I think that you could look at any old system that we have developed from the early 2000s to late 90s with the internet, and it's the same proclamation most of the time, that those ended up into the actual point of the market. They were not the same, and by the time they were actually proven to work in the market, they were completely different from wherever they started. And so that's just kind of how tech works and how it evolves. And I think that's what some people forget, is that this is a tech space, and that because it's a tech space, it also has its tech evolution. And so until there's like no code solutions that still let you own your own contract and make it easy for some people to come in, then it's going to be almost impossible for some people to come in, because paying a dev is expensive as fuck. And then sitting here learning to code and do something on your own takes a lot of time and effort. And when you're like me and you're trying to record a whole year's worth of podcast and make a whole year's worth of music and then plan all that out and then edit down into short form content, and I have so many things on my fucking plate that also doing this so I can make sure that I can eat has to be at the top of my priority list. But it also is like, I don't have the money, but I have the time and the energy, but I also have all these other things I have to do, and it's a lot. And most people can't handle sitting here trying to do a lot. Like, it's a lot for me even, and I can handle doing it, but it's just like, you could say I don't have to scrunch things into like a specific amount of time, but then think about the other people out there that don't have all the time in the world, that don't have all these things set up for it to be easy for them to be involved in what they're doing. And that's another big part of why it's already difficult enough to be involved. It's already difficult enough for me to be involved, because if I want to go have something that I think would be simple made, is still going to cost me $500 to $1,000 to make, which is almost the equivalent of paying somebody to do a website for you 10 years ago. Because at that point, that's how difficult it still was. So it makes sense. That is my overall with NFTs, my involvement. I'm still in the game now, and I had to relearn Twitter, and I had to come back in and understand it. And I'm still having to get into understanding blockchain technology and how to code it and how to get my stuff on the blockchain myself. It's a headache. It's a bitch. But when you want to see real opportunity, it's going to take real effort, real hard work, and there's just no way around that no matter what you do. So thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you guys for all the support that you offer me. Watching this, listening to my music, whatever else that it might be. The love is always reciprocated, and I can never be more grateful. So, aeromiss.xyz. Make sure you guys check out everything. Check me out in the description. And I'll catch you on the next one.